Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get this podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We got some more on them NBA shenanigans from last week that we're going to talk about here. But first, Saturday, I've been doing a bit of traveling, man, a little bit worn out. You know what I mean? Saturday comes and, well, really, honestly, college football was kind of Like, we got to be honest about this. It matters who's good, but when who's good is Mizzou and Vanderbilt, I don't care, bro. Texas A&M and LSU, oh, you can get me interested in that. Plus, I needed to watch Texas A&M because I needed to figure out exactly how it was that they were going to get, to an 8-4 season, as Texas A&M is prone to having 8-4 seasons. And I just want to start by saying that ain't no 8-4 football team. Ladies and gentlemen, good gracious, they look good. They look fast, but not necessarily that big. And trust me, something will happen, but it ain't gonna be 8-4. That ain't it. Meanwhile, they were on the other side of LSU, who looked every bit of 8-4. Now, the thing that happened that I wasn't necessarily expecting, I mean, it was kind of sort of on the board. We kind of sort of talked about this with Pat Forty last week, but when I decided that I was too tired to keep watching that game, it was still competitive. When I woke up in the morning, Ryan told me a little bit more about what happened. And Ryan, I think we both knew. Brian Kelly was done in that town.
Over. Anytime you get invaded by Aggies in Tiger Stadium, it's not going to last very long for you.
I can't imagine anything more terrifying than an Aggie invasion.
Correct.
Like just the thought of a bunch of Aggies bum rushing you. They're weird on top of everything. Oh, man.
And Aggies who have spent the last 12 hours before in Baton Rouge.
Yes. And do you know the last time that the Aggies won in Baton Rouge?
I'm not sure. It's been a long time.
1994.
That's wild.
Right, because remember, they decided, so when Arkansas joined the league, they decided to make LSU-Arkansas a rivalry. Right. They really did that. And to show you just how not rivalry that actually was, Texas A&M came in the league, and immediately it returned to being a bit of a rivalry as it was before, because there is a lot of similarities between Aggies and LSU fans. They're different kinds of weirdos.
I mean, right? LSU is an A&M school.
Yes. Yeah. It's just they're different kinds of weirdos. LSU is just a lot more fun.
Right.
And they don't have like a bourgeois counterpoint like the Aggies do to like ground their existence in. They don't have that. But A&M came in and LSU was beating them every year. It wasn't until like that 15 overtime game in the Ogeron year that A&M finally got themselves a win. Anyway, they took it all out on them. Now, there are a couple of dynamics for those of you who don't really follow college football that you need to understand that did not make this better. And actually, I think the biggest one, and I wonder, look, Brian Kelly was going to be cooked anyway. But when Mike Elko, the head coach at A&M, went out there and said, we've beaten them 60-6 in the second half the last 2 years, and that has a lot to do with our strength coach. And left unsaid for the large audience, but very clear to those close to the situation, is that strength coach used to be LSU's strength coach. And Brian Kelly, to be fair to him, did what most coaches as established as Brian Kelly would do under those circumstances, which is bring in his own strength coach. However, that's the kind of thing that got him fired. Okay, look, the thing that got him fired is that people don't like him. You can buy some time in these situations, right? But people don't like him. We have talked about this forever. He came from Notre Dame to LSU. He did not bring any of his assistants, and I'm sure he asked one or two. None of them came with him. He showed up, and he started talking with an accent that he did not actually possess. This man is from Massachusetts, and I can't think of any accent that is less like a Louisiana accent than a Massachusetts accent. But it's not like Brian Kelly came down there and used the Louisiana accent either. He just used a stock Southern accent. It's kind of like how Kevin Spacey, back when he was allowed to be in movies that people watch, Any role he played was the same exact Southern accent. He didn't understand that it was differences between the two. Brian Kelly did that, right? Came down here. So what? People don't like him. The end results, he's in a very similar situation to James Franklin, where, I guess it's a little different with Franklin because Penn State post-Paterno hasn't really established a counterpoint as to what baseline success is. In fact, the only coach they've really had is James Franklin. Like, he has established kind of sort of what the baseline is. That'll make it very interesting for the next coach to see what they do. But Brian Kelly hit you with 2 10-win seasons, a 9-win season, and this season where they lost to teams that are currently ranked 3, 7, and 9, was probably shaping up to be a 9 or 10-win season, which is kind of what LSU does in the absence of outlier performance. That's just kind of what they do. Problem is, they have suffered at least one highly embarrassing loss every year, like an outright ass whooping every year. So you take a guy that people don't like, and then you add in some form of embarrassment every year in the form of one game. And number 3, this is the big one. Every school has a way that they like to play football. And they want their team to play in that style, in that personality, okay? For example, at Florida, this is a big part of why. Look, Lane Kiffin is the spiritual successor to Steve Spurrier if you don't pay very close attention. Basically, inclined toward being a jerk, and he likes to throw the ball. Okay. Florida wants to throw the ball. I think the jerk part is negotiable. But even if they don't throw it, because Urban Meyer wasn't exactly a fling it around the yard guy, but they like fun offense at Florida. That is very, 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 very important to them. That's part of why they brought on Billy Napier. They like fun offense. Part of why it didn't work in the end with Will Muschamp. Part of it was wins and losses, but Will Muschamp football, which is not the most sophisticated brand of football you've ever seen, that was not working for them. We're just going to line up and beat the hell out of people. It's not what they want down there. They would have loved Will Muschamp football at LSU. They would have won some better results in the end, but we're just going to line up and take it to you. LSU, here for it. That's the kind of football they want. And Ryan, you as our resident LSU grad, it is fair to say Brian Kelly football for you guys was not lining up and taking it to people.
No, this is it's fascinating looking back on it, right? Because you look at the record, it's 34-14. That is a acceptable record pretty much everywhere besides Ohio State and Alabama.
Right.
But however, if you start digging into that at all, it's 5-11 versus ranked teams. It's soft, it's undisciplined, and it is not aesthetically pleasing. And that's how you lose the former players, the fans.
Yes.
And then it seems like from all the reporting, lost the administration very fast and then spiraled out of control.
Yeah, again, don't have friends. You don't play the kind of football that they want to play, and you're taking one ass whooping every year.
And they bring up, and it's very funny, when no one likes you and they bring up, should we fire this guy? And no one raises their hand in dissent.
Right.
Like that, what are you going to do?
Like, no one, can you imagine expending hard-earned political capital to save Brian Kelly's job?
Again, after losing to Vanderbilt and Texas A&M in back-to-back weeks.
And by the way, Vanderbilt, not a bad team. Just
Correct.
throwing it out there.
They're
but you know what they are?
Vanderbilt.
Right. They're going to have to do a lot before they stop being Vanderbilt.
And it's funny because, like, you look at the past 2 firings, right? Like, the Orgeron firing was semi-controversial at the time. He just won a national championship 2 years ago. He's one of those people in Louisiana. He's very much of the brand.
Yes.
They tried to get out west. They had to try. They tried to chop his head off, and then they changed their mind at at halftime of the Texas A&M game 10 years ago.
Yes.
And then and now there's no dissent of the Brian Kelly fire, even with the $53 million buyout.
Nobody's saying take me instead. when it's time to fire Brian Kelly. It's not happening. And yes, a $54 million buyout that they don't know how they're going to pay. They just know they're going to pay it. Yeah, this is college football.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, like, it's very funny how 2 weeks ago I was talking about, we were talking about the absurdity of James Franklin's buyout.
Yes.
And now, as when it's my team, like, well, if it's 6 years, and, it's only $800,000 a month.
Yeah.
And if you get the offset language, gets another job, like, it's just a decision you have to make.
Yeah, now see, they're cooked, though, because him finding another job is tricky. He's 64 years old, and I'm not exactly sure who's bringing in a man that age after what you watch were the shortcomings of this team, right? Like, yeah, we'd love a coach that has a team that gets knocked off the ball every time that it gets snapped. Yeah, who doesn't want that? Like, what job is up to the standards of Brian Kelly that Brian Kelly is going to take? And look, everybody dislikes Brian Kelly. I want to be very clear. Brian Kelly has a full-on Hall of Fame resume. Whether if he does not get into the Hall of Fame, it's going to be because people don't like him. That's all it comes down to.
But he's one of the best 10 coaches of the last 25 years.
Yeah. Like his run at Notre Dame had some hiccups, but it was strong. That is not an easy place to win, right? Like I think the idea that you can win a national title at Notre Dame, again, keeping in mind it hasn't happened in nearly 40 years, Kelly helped them elevate them to the place where Freeman is now. Like he's good, but this wasn't it. It was a big swing from the AD. All of us saw where it might not work. All of us saw also where it would. Because I remember me and Mike Golick Jr. would talk about this. That first year, I want to say the over-under total on LSU wins with the books was something like 7.5 or 8.5. And I was so mad I did not see that because I would have put $100,000 on that because there was no way in the world that Brian Kelly was going to go to LSU and wasn't going to win no 9 games. And they won 10.
It might have been 6.5 because you have to remember how depleted the roster was.
Right. But it never dawned on me that they were going. Brian Kelly was not going to have a 6.5 win season at LSU.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to be it, right? Now, look, it's done. It's happened. Now we get to the real fun where Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports, who covered LSU for many years, there is a line in his story about how all of this went down that said, quote, "This is the most Louisiana thing ever," unquote. I don't know how much you guys know about knowing. I'm just here to tell you, if it's the most Louisiana thing ever, they're not saying it makes sense. It's only a compliment if it's a party. Perhaps a mixed drink. But it's the most Louisiana thing ever means, oh boy. I don't think it's going to be necessarily this way in sum total, but if you were to tell me that the phrase ass backwards started in Louisiana, it's totally on the board. You could convince me that that is the point of origin. Like, you know how everybody's got something that they are convinced that they invented, some phrase that they came up with first. For example, as I told you guys, my advisor in graduate school is a brilliant man named Sandy Darity, who was adamant that he was the first person to ever call Barry White the Walrus of Love. My brother is adamant that he is the first person to ever say drop a deuce in reference to defecation. I believe using cape as a verb is something that I was on a bit of the vanguard of. I used to think I was the first person to call Trey Young Trey the Barge, but I was wise enough to look it up on Twitter first, and other people have said it, but baby, we in the same boat. I merely popularized the phrase, okay? Ass backwards, that sounds like Louisiana to me. Sounds like where it came from. You need to understand how crazy this could get, or probably is going to get. Well, first of all, you know it was crazy because they all got together in Louisiana to talk about this on a Sunday, and I need you to understand something. One thing that Louisiana is not about, has never been about, and will never be about is hard work. I know that in many places you would take that as an insult if I question your work ethic. Louisiana's looking at me like, you're damn right. What's the point of that? It's the French influence. You go over to France, they ain't about working hard. Ryan, you're from Louisiana. You're not offended at all by what I'm saying, are
Not
you?
in the slightest.
They're like, you're the ones doing it wrong.
No, yeah. I mean, not only were they working on the Sunday, they were working on Sunday in the governor's mansion.
Yes. Yes, they did this in the governor's mansion. Like, first of all,
which is now that I say that, it's a very Louisiana phrase.
Yes.
The governor's mansion.
Yes, but you knew that they were firing him when they decided to get to work on Sunday.
Correct.
Nobody was going over there to not
doing
do
a full day after church. Yeah.
You know how mad they would have been if they went over there and the thing didn't get done.
Yeah.
Working. And let me tell you this. Everybody that went in there on Sunday, not a damn one of them was coming to work on time on Monday. You can write that down. They were like, hey, I have already done my part. But anyway, they all went to the governor's mansion to do this. Part of why they had to go to the governor's mansion to do this is LSU right now doesn't have an actual factual president. They have an interim president and they have 5 finalists. So the governor, who got on Twitter during the game and sent a tweet that said, I don't know about these ticket price increases they're over there talking about, decided that this has to be done. And now it appears that the governor is going to be the one to hire the coach. And that, does that sound like a good idea? Just throwing it out there.
Huey Long is not walking through that door.
No, but my question is, like, as the university president, you would want to hire your own coach.
Or always be involved in or how the search is done.
Right. So is this going to accelerate the president's search? Like, is that what we're going to get? It is. Anything is possible with what goes on.
Because it's also important context to remember that LSU's AD used to be Texas A&M's AD, and his white whale forever was Jimbo Fisher.
Yes.
Not to say they're going to get Jimbo Fisher. That to say is, I question after wanting Jimbo Fisher and hiring Brian Kelly, I question his judgment on football coaches.
Well, first of all, I have heard that Jimbo's on the board. At the very least, I think Jimbo will get a courtesy interview, right? Like, I think that Scott may do that. Scott Wilbur may do that for his buddy. The look on your face at the thought of Jimbo Fisher being the head coach is pretty hilarious. I have to say.
I'm going to be like Howard Bryant watching Kurosawa movies on Saturday if we hire Jimbo Fisher.
There's no chance. They could not hire Jimbo. But here's the thing. Is the athletic director even allowed to make this hire? Because I think a question that's going to come down to for the future of college football is, given what this money is that they're spending to get people out of these jobs, are you going to let the AD make the hire?
Right. If you spend $50 million to get rid of somebody, you think you'd be in the meeting.
Yeah, but the problem is, look at some of these examples of what happens when you don't let the AD make the hire. Case in point, North Carolina.
Right.
Where the AD absolutely did not make that hire, and now the AD is probably going to have to be the one to fix it.
Right. They very famously, or not very, but wanted the Tulane coach, who's now going to be on the short list for all these open SEC jobs.
Yes.
And instead they got Belichick, and they're in the situation they're in.
Right. And now, speaking of the SEC, Lane Kiffin has, this is startling that there's a reason why Lane Kiffin is only at Ole Miss right now at this point in his career, is because we all had decided that he is un tonto, right? We had concluded that this man was a fool, unworthy of, not a bad coach, just a fool couldn't put too close to the top. And now it looks like he'll have his choice between LSU and Florida.
He is somehow 50 years old, the best coaching candidate by a mile, and is on his 3rd best job in college football.
Yes, that is a great point. I have not thought about it in
and his
that
4th
way.
best college coaching job he's ever had, if you count the Raiders.
Yes, but I would tell you this. I'll take Summerall as the coach at Tulane before I take Lane. Like, I'm not putting myself. I was watching that clown, and I don't even know this man, so I feel so bad for being so passionate about what a clown I believe him to be. But he's getting ready to do the post-game interview on ABC, and he's talking shit to a dude on the other team, to a 20-year-old.
I mean,
what are you doing?
He also might have destabilized LSU within 6 weeks. Remember, his daughter was dating one of the players.
He did. But no, he's either going to LSU or he's going to Florida. I think Florida is probably a better situation. His brand of smarm, I just don't think is going to play at LSU in quite the right way. Think again, tonto. The offensive coordinator job at Alabama has turned into better positions than going to Florida Atlantic, which is what all that Lane could turn it into. because we acknowledge tonto. Es un tonto. He's a fool. I don't even know this man, but it just drives me crazy. Anyway, LSU is about to have a crazy person coaching search that may turn into them hiring Lane. Look, the SEC is so crazy, it is entirely possible that Bobby Petrino will be the head coach at Arkansas next year. That's very much so on the board.
It's crazy because Lane Kiffin is the third craziest person you could suggest for the LSU job.
Who you got above him?
Jimbo that you just threw out.
Yes.
There's going to be any of these jobs, there's going to be a small but vocal contingent wanting Gruden.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say Art Briles.
No. I think that ship has sailed. But 5 years ago, I'm surprised he didn't come up in the 21 search. So I think that ship has sailed.
Well, Art Briles is as close to being a head coach as he's going to be right now, which is his son-in-law coaches Mississippi State. And if you think Art Briles is not a part of that situation, honestly, if he's not, Jeff Levy is doing this wrong.
Yeah.
Like if we're just talking about the football,
right.
not the people, just the football. Oh, got a little weird at Texas over the weekend.
Right.
With the word getting out that apparently Steve Sarkisian has floated his name for coaching jobs, including the Titans. Keeping in mind that would be a $7 million pay cut in all likelihood if he did that. Brian Callahan made $3 million a year with that job. Sarkisian's in the 8 figures with Texas. So it's unlikely, but he seems miserable. He has seemed miserable throughout this year.
Right. And there's something clearly going on at Texas. Like,
yes.
Whatever's going on with the Arch Manning thing, they almost blew that. They got very lucky to win a game in Starkville this past weekend. That's talk about strange bedfellows with Sark and Lane.
Yeah, but Ryan, look what's available that we know of, plus what we think will be available. LSU is open. Florida's open. Penn State is open. We expect Florida State will be open. There are small chances that USC could be open. Very small, but I think on the board that Texas could wind up being open.
And then there's a 50-50 shot that Auburn's open as well.
Yeah, I think they would like for it to be open, right?
Yeah, I think if it gets bad over the next month, that's going to be open as well.
Yes. UCLA, weirdo job, open. North Carolina, which somebody's going to think they could be the one to fix.
Wisconsin's
going to be open.
Yeah, I mean, they're awful.
That is a shocking turn of events that they're as bad as they are.
They're awful, and like they miss the days of the offense they used to run. Like that was a modern offense compared to what they're doing. I know they cannot throw the ball.
Right. But the thing I think that's going to save some of these people's jobs, like this is the question that a school like Carolina is stuck in, which is, who are we going to get to take this job? If all these other people's jobs are available, who are we going to get to take this job? Because what I haven't heard about, and maybe I don't know as much about the game as I used to, but I'm not hearing about that Tom Herman in 2016 type, like Lane Kiffin in 2009. And these are just, Will Muschamp was this guy at a different point. Now, look, these things did not necessarily work out, but Bob Stoops in 1999, the hot, this guy is next, Kirby Smart in 2016, because there are no Saban guys left for you to pluck, like go to Nick's staff and figure out who hasn't gotten a job yet and go ahead and take that guy. You've got dudes like Clark Lee, you got like Drinkovitz at Mizzou, like guys who are doing okay at these smaller jobs, but there used to be a young dude that nobody had hired yet that you look at and you're like, hey, that's who we need.
Like a college football version of Ben Johnson.
Yes, the kind of guy that Oklahoma historically would go hire. Like I said, what Lane Kiffin was when he was a younger guy. It's none of that. All we're hearing about is old guys at these other jobs, like a dude like Matt Rule that maybe was on this trajectory, but he went to the NFL, and now you figure out maybe he winds up at Penn State. Can you imagine how terrible it would be for Nebraska if they wind up have to look for another coach in this environment?
It was kind of the argument that people were making about like drafting Bo Nix about a year or so ago. If you're drafting the 6th best quarterback, how good is that quarterback?
Yes, but the other argument is you took Bo Nix or you took Michael Penix because what's down the pike.
Right. Exactly. If you don't take the 6th best quarterback now, who's coming up in 2 years?
Exactly. So the math on what you do is so all over the place, but this is going to be the most chaotic coaching search that we have ever seen. And it is so chaotic that I lie to you not. Robert Griffin got on his Twitter and told the world that he talked to Tyrann Mathieu, the honey badger, and he said that he wanted to be the coach at LSU, and Ryan did not dismiss it out of hand. LSU football, it is fantastic. All right, I wanted to get back to the scandalous news from the NBA about, the gambling and the poker and the, prop bet shaving. It doesn't feel like point shaving is the right way to put it when you're doing it for a prop bet. But anyway, I saw a lot of people kind of downplay the magnitude of this. Brian Windhorst, a lot of I like Brian a lot, respect Brian a lot. And he said he did not think that this would be the sort of thing that would shake the NBA to its core. And it's not. I find that a bit shocking. Like, I bet if this happened in baseball, it would shake them to the core. Just because I guess they have a different level of petrification, if that's a word, when it comes to these things. But to me, what was alleged and some of the kind of sort of tentacles that spread from it, I thought they were ginormous. I think that they are a very, very big deal. And I think that it is dangerous for all parties involved to kind of act like, why me worry on this situation? Like, help me out here. And you tell me if I'm crazy. But everybody's innocent until proven guilty, all of that stuff. But if Chauncey Billups did what he is accused of doing, that is between him and the poker players, the whole rigging of the game. And Ryan, my good buddy Nick, you have worked with my buddy Nick before you worked on this show. And I don't know. First of all, there's been no story ever that had Nick Wright's name written all over it, quite like this confluence of basketball and high stakes poker. But he did a very good podcast on this that you need to check out because, again, this is the Nick Wright Olympics. But the level of personal offense he took to the idea that Chauncey Billups was running a rigged game. Like, he was just this is straight up
talk about
theft.
Someone who has a strong moral character about cheating and stealing.
Yes.
It actually makes him very, very mad.
And specifically in this world.
Correct.
He was just like, look, this is just straight up theft if this is what he's doing. And that is, there's no other way to put it, but that's between them, right? That's between the poker people, if that's what it is. However, look, I talked to multiple people over the weekend and who said the same thing to me unsolicited, which was, you could have given me 100 guesses, and I never would have thought that Chauncey Billups was the person who was caught up in this. I cannot believe for a moment that all of those people completely got it wrong about that guy. These people that know things, people that, ain't just a bunch of marks. They don't see it, right? They just could not believe this with Chauncey Billups. If the allegations are true, I would assume, and I think this is the safest assumption, this would be if it was Chauncey Billups or anybody else, but I believe that the safest assumption is that he owes somebody some money. One way or another, he owes somebody some money. And that means, if the allegations are true, that the head coach of an NBA team got himself into the pocket of organized crime figures. An NBA Hall of Famer, no less. I do not understand how that could not terrify you if you have any sort of role with the NBA. Because for me, the story of this is what it has exposed and laid bare is just how susceptible all parties involved are to getting caught up in this. And by the way, right now, we're just talking about the players. We're not even talking about the most vulnerable people in professional sports when it comes to gambling things, the people that have the greatest control over the outcome, and those are the referees, right? Like right now, we're at the class of guys that can most easily turn into big headlines. But I don't see how in the world anybody could look at this and not feel that this is a league that is incredibly vulnerable to worst case scenario. And the truth is, the league has always been incredibly vulnerable to worst case scenario because this particular game is vulnerable to worst case scenario. It's not about the people who play it or anything specific there. It is truly simply about the structure of the game. I don't know how you can't be scared. Now, the Damon Jones stuff, that part wouldn't worry me. Because again, he create like what he's accused of, and that's passing information on to gamblers. I mean, that creates problems. But I was talking to my brother about this, and he made a great point that that is a violation of the norms of the gambling world. Like, I don't think our ability to appreciate watching basketball matters that much based upon what's happening with the lines, right? Like that does not threaten the integrity of
that's not cheating. That's not cheating the game.
Correct. That is not threatening the integrity of the game of basketball. That is threatening the integrity of the lines that are set by betting houses. I agree that if you say that that's not a big deal, I got you. You know what I mean? Like I see how it is that you could get to that place. That is a different sort of morality. Just like the morality on Chauncey Billups running poker game scams is clear, but I don't go to that school. You know, like I don't even really know what they get over there and they can do what they want, right? But it lets us know how quickly and easily this can get out of hand if it comes to that. Like the questions that I have about this are exactly how did this happen for everybody involved. I got a decent idea of how it happened with Damon Jones. Like I haven't seen how much people have talked about this, so I don't feel like I'm the one that needs to break this out. But let's just say that where people are like, if you gave me 100 guesses, I wouldn't have believed that Chauncey Billups would have been somebody to catch up on it. If you'd have gave people 3 guesses, Damon Jones probably would have got one of them. Like that one, that one is a little bit different. Like people saw that coming. But if a dude that made $100 million in the league and that's on the court winds up in this situation, oh no. You got problems. You got problems because there's no telling what happens next. Like, and by the way, Chauncey Billups was alleged to have fed information in the other suit. He's not named explicitly, but it's him. Unless there was somebody else who played in the NBA from 1997 to 2014 and was an NBA basketball coach. He's there. He's there. This matters as far as I can tell. From where I stand, this is where everybody needs to sit up and pay attention and ask yourselves where exactly this could wind up going. All right, I want to say this, though, and I think this is an important thing because I think the NBA is getting a bad rap on something, and that is the NBA knew that the FBI was looking into it with Terry Rozier. The NBA looked into it themselves with Terry Rozier. They did an investigation. Nothing came back. The word cleared had been used, and they need to stop doing that because the NBA investigating and not finding something isn't the same thing as clearing somebody. Like, you notice who normally doesn't use any language like that? Prosecutors. They just be like, we ain't got you right now, you guilty motherfucker. Right? Like that's how they get down. You can't say clear just because you did not find anything, unless you found something like definitive in another direction. But it's very difficult to assert a negative, right? You got to be careful when you play that game. But anyway, I've seen people make the point that the NBA investigated, it came back as nothing, and now the feds got something, and that somehow that's some kind of indictment of the NBA because they didn't find something or because they knew the federal government was looking into Rozier, and then they still continued to allow Terry Rozier to play. Now, on one point, which is how did the NBA not find something if there is something? And by the way, we're still in the if stage. How did the NBA not find something if there is something? This is a quote from Adam Silver that I think is correct. The federal government has subpoena power. It can threaten to put people in jail. It can do all kinds of things that a league office can't do. So we've been working with them since then. Right. They can't. They can snoop on you. They can follow you around. They can find out, who your girl is or who that girl is that ain't your girl and all of that stuff, right? But they ain't necessarily going to be able to get behind this. Ain't nobody got to talk to them. Hey, it's Adam Silver and I demand answers. Yeah, I bet you do. Right? Like you might be able to demand some answers from Terry Rozier, but the people you need to talk to, criminals. Yeah, sure, Mr. Commissioner, anything to help. I've always been a fan. No, that's not going to happen. Number two, just want to throw this out here. The good folks at the University of Dayton were kind enough to invite me to campus. I was there last week, and I was there and I want to make sure I get the exact wording on why I was there. I was there serving serving the Roger Brown residency in social justice, writing, and sport at the University of Dayton. It was a wonderfully fulfilling time. And I'll be honest, I didn't know that much about Roger Brown before I agreed to do the residency. But Roger Brown was a great high school player in the late 50s and early 60s with in New York City. Connie Hawkins was his contemporary. And like Connie Hawkins, he got caught up in that he met a dude named Jack Molinas, who is a very historically important figure that you can look up. Molinas. Molinas was a gambler. Molinas has been involved in a lot of point shaving. And Roger Brown knew Molinas, just like Connie Hawkins knew Molinas. And once the word got around that he knew Jack Molinas, the University of Dayton put him out of school, expelled him. The NBA issued a lifetime ban against Brown. A lifetime ban. Eventually, in 1967, he began his career. He played in the ABA. The Pacers have retired his jersey. He eventually made the Basketball Hall of Fame. All of those things. But the key here is there was no evidence against him. None. He wound up suing the NBA. He eventually came out on top in the lawsuit, won a judgment of $420,000. But by that time, he just decided to stay in the ABA, and that was his career. I bring that up to say the NBA has already tried to not let somebody play simply based on an allegation. And they lost in court. So you hear where I'm coming from here, right? Like they weren't just going to be in a position where they were just going to tell Terry Rozier, you can't play for who knows how long. That wasn't going to happen just on the basis of an investigation. If they had, I would have understood why, but this is not something that I think the league itself believes that it can do. Now, Ryan, I do have this question. I don't really know the difference between this and Malik Beasley.
I mean, this line of like these player props that are like just like, I'm hurt, bet my unders. Essentially, I'm gonna fake an injury.
Yes,
is kind of almost impossible to regulate unless these books decide we're only gonna make these props one-way bets. So essentially, it's like you can only bet the over.
Yeah, and look, the Beasley case seems shaky.
Right.
Like
he wasn't mentioned in any of this.
Yeah, he wasn't mentioned in any of this at all. But he's not working for anybody right now.
Right.
Now, granted, he appears to be a bundle of surprises no matter what, right? Like,
right.
You ain't gonna tell me he the
bit
first
of an unpredictable character, if you will.
Yeah, but you ain't gonna tell me he the first broke ass NBA player, right? You ain't gonna tell me he the first one to like owe some people some money and get tossed out or whatever it is. But I don't understand. I don't understand how everything works. But I do understand how it is that the NBA would allow Rozier to continue playing in the face of these allegations if they looked into it and they didn't have anything. Like, them boys got a union for a reason. That's not the place to come down on the NBA. Other than Adam Silver wrote that op-ed in 2014 that he's always going to have his name on about why you should legalize gambling or make it okay. But even that, I don't think it's his fault. I don't think that this is anything to blame on the NBA. But it damn sure something they better figure out how to fix. And I don't have the answers as to how. Now, stay tuned for an advertisement kind of about what we were talking about.
All right, guys, we're talking about the NBA season has tipped off, and so does DraftKings' newest fantasy game. DraftKings Pick Six is the easiest way to play for big wins. Here's how to play: just pick more or less, or two or more stats, and unlock the upside every game brings. The better your picks, the bigger your payout. No gimmicks, no convoluted rules, just you, your gut, and a shot at big returns. Two picks I like this tonight: Zion Williamson more than 25.5 points taking on the Boston Celtics. They haven't been very good to start the season. Also, like Steph Curry over 26.5 points when they play the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. Pick Six is available in Texas, California, Missouri, and more. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with a $5 entry on your first pick set. Don't just watch basketball, cash in. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app now and use code BOMANI. That's code BOMANI. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick Six bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos. All right, Bo, couple more stories from the weekend. Big NFL game. The only good one yesterday, Packers beating the Steelers 35-25. Jordan Love outplaying Aaron Rodgers. Bo, what'd you think of this game?
It dawned on me watching that game that the Steelers made all those moves in the offseason, and I've thought of them like 3 times all year long. I don't like they're going to win their division because the Ravens, I don't see how the Ravens wind up keeping this together. Aaron Rodgers.
The Bengals might have had a shot if they didn't blow that game to the Jets.
And that's crazy considering They got Joe Flacco out here playing quarterback for them. But the Steelers are just kind of there, just kind of around. And it was very clear to me early. They are the Packers are in a different class of football than they are. Like the Steelers, if Mike Tomlin was a college coach this year, they would fire him. Not because they don't win, but what games you win, what games you lose, and how it makes everybody feel.
He's turning into James Franklin.
Right. And it feels like nothing. But to be fair, Tomlin's not just like they lost that game to Cincinnati, but that's a Thursday night game, on the road. Like all those things happen. He hasn't had he's not losing to Northwestern and losing to winless UCLA, right? He's not there. But just where's the spark? Where's the excitement? Where's the fun? Is it going to be like this forever? Or are we simply going through the motions? College, they would have fired him.
I can't believe how little we've talked about Aaron Rodgers this year.
Yeah, you know why? Because he's cool. He's okay.
And he's been cool. He's okay, and he somehow has not made any sort of stink yet. But
that's what I was about to say. I will give him this. He respects the institution for which he plays, right? And so he felt it is amazing. Somebody could get Aaron Rodgers to be quiet, and he doesn't seem so bad anymore. Like I was thinking, like, wow, it's really cool how he actually mentored Jordan Love as opposed to being a jerk to him. Like it's a reminder that there were actually quite a few likable things about Aaron Rodgers.
He was amazing. He goes to the Jets and he acts like a Jet, and he goes to the Steelers and now he's acting like a Steeler.
Yes.
It's kind of that simple.
Yes.
Getting back to college football, Deion Sanders said he was dumbfounded after a loss to Utah. They lost 53-7. Quote, "This is bad. This is probably the worst beating I've ever had, except when my mama whooped me as a kid." According to Sanders. Bo, your thoughts?
So I think Colorado will want to keep Deion Sanders for as long as they can. Like I don't think they think that the future for them is 11-win seasons, right? They just wanted to feel good, and it felt really good for those first 2 years. This can't feel good, and it certainly can't be good for Deion, who, I would be surprised if he's the coach next year, just because he's been through so much. He's not coaching his kids anymore. I think he cares about the players that he has on his team, but that's a really, really tough place to win, a tough place to go. And they're not going to be able to get up enough money to pay Deion and pay players.
Right. And I mean, like, it just doesn't look as fun. I mean, he clearly cares about coaching.
Yes.
And he's also going to talk about all this money in college football. there's always game day and there's always big noon. And
Yes.
I mean, any of these NFL pregame shows or college football shows will take him in 5 seconds.
Yeah, but I think that we've seen as good as this experiment is going to go. Is Travis Hunter coming there? I think it would be easier to get Travis Hunter to go to Jackson State, which is really what he did, than it would be in that year than it would be to get him to go to Colorado in this year.
All right. And finally, the versus between No Limit and Cash Money happened over the weekend. Snoop Dogg showed up. Bo, what is your thoughts on versus here in 2025?
Okay, so to me, versus as a concept is over. Like it is kind of like Formula One. You remember when everybody was at home by themselves riding, they was watching all that Formula One and talking about it all the time. I don't hear so much about Formula One no more, right? It was a product of the times, and it was cool. Look, for somebody my age and from where I am from, it was interesting to watch that versus. It was very difficult to watch, of course, because everybody was rapping over their own vocals, and that was tough. What made that so interesting to me, though, was I think of No Limit as a local brand or a regional brand, and I think of Cash Money as a national brand. And that's not to say that there weren't people across the country who rock with No Limit, but by the time all that Cash Money stuff that was being played, by the time they came around, that stuff was for everybody. That No Limit stuff was really from the stretch of the country between New Orleans and Atlanta. That's by and large who that was from. And I gotta be honest with you, that New Orleans, that No Limit stuff was knocking harder than the Cash Money stuff. Like Cash Money got some upper echelon classics, but that No Limit, Break 'em Off Something was hitting hard, man. The other thing that happened, and my man Dragonfly Jones pointed this out, and a bunch of other people, is worth noting. Master P up there surrounded by people who still love him. Birdman got half his squad up there because chances are is some disputes over some money with those people. The Snoop part was interesting because I had low-key forgotten that he ever was there. And clearly he had not forgotten that he ever was there. Like what Master P pulled off, especially considering how few people in his operation could actually rap, was really, really, really amazing. Like and it didn't even last that long. It was a thing. Like Cash Money and A Music and stuff has endured, but hey man, you got to give credit to P for what he managed to pull off, while also insisting that he and his non-rapping brother be on all the songs.
All right, Bo, voicemail line's open. We got a couple good ones. Here's the first.
Hey, Bomani. Something that's very apparent in years of listening to your show is that you are the son of educators. And for all that you're a storyteller and an analyst and an entertainer, your approach to your show very much, I think, is that of an educator. And my years of listening to you have taught me a lot and have influenced the way that I see the world and try to conduct myself within it. And that made me wonder, who are some people like that in your life, people with whom you have no particular relationship necessarily, but whose work has shaped your worldview or influenced you in some way? And to close on a lighter note, the implement that was used in the worst ever corrective beating that I received from my father was a paperback copy of the 1989 Guinness Book of World Records, which made it a literal world record ass whooping. I thought you might find that humorously poetic. I love the show. Keep doing what you're doing. Goodbye.
That was a turn I did not see coming. I love that he knows the exact year. He must have got it that year from the Scholastic Book Fair.
He is clearly an important year in his life for a lot of
the
reasons.
only way you got to get his Book of World Record at your own house is if it came from the book fair, the book order, whatever it happened to be.
Still in the league, by the way.
Wow, had not thought about that. Wow. I guess I got to go, man. Ralph Wiley, I always say, is the number one influence that I've had, like as sports writer in particular. That is the one. If you can get a hold, Why Black People Tend to Shout is a good one to check out if you have not. I don't know if it's still in print, but there was a collection of Ralph's columns called Classic Wiley from the ESPN.com days that I highly recommend. I mean, you'll see where I'm getting a whole lot of what it is that I'm doing over here comes from him. But that's the guy that I would definitely say to go check out. First and foremost is Ralph Wiley.
All right, here's our next one.
Hey, Bomani, Jay here in San Jose, California, East Coast native, longtime listener. Curious if you have an artist that you grew with from basically hating all the way to really, really enjoying. So I think about that because I experienced it with Mac Miller. I couldn't stand him. I went to college close to Pittsburgh, and I didn't like what he was. I thought his rapping was stupid. I thought his lyrics were asinine and vapid. But with time, as I started to grow my taste in hip-hop and appreciate those lyrics and different styles, you know, he comes out with Swimming by the time I'm 26, 27, and that album was a life changer for me. And so I grew with Mac, basically. My taste evolved as he evolved. I'm wondering if you have an artist that did that for you, where you evolved over time with them. Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Now, I don't know if I would say hate. Like, I have people that I didn't necessarily get it for a long time, and then I eventually something happened that came around. Like D'Angelo is an example of that one, where I was like, I mean, it's cool, but I didn't see what y'all saw, and then it got to a place where I was like, okay, I understand, even if I don't fully agree in every single place. I think the only way that you really come around on somebody that you used to hate, and then you like get to the place of where you don't hate them anymore, is you got to be in situations where you have to listen to them against their will. And that doesn't happen to me anymore. Like in this day and age, I don't know how you really do come around on stuff like that. Because once you make your decision about somebody, you ain't got to go back. The radio ain't gonna force it. You ain't necessarily. I mean, I'm old. I ain't going to the parties. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like when, like in the age of self-selection, why are you self-selecting someone you didn't like the first time?
That is exactly it. Like you need to really, really sell me on. I think you should check this out. And yeah, that ain't really happening so much. Maybe I need to broaden my horizons.
All right, here's the last one.
Hey, Bomani. This is Jake calling from Champaign, Illinois. You talk about barbershops on the show a lot, and I wanted to share with you my recent barbershop experience. Needed a haircut, needed the beard trim, needed to look good, called my regular barber, couldn't fit me in, started calling around. Ended up finding a Puerto Rican barber shop that was able to fit me in. Walk in, I am the whitest of white Midwest guy coming into an environment where everybody's speaking Spanish, having a good time. And once I walk in, it's like a record scratch. Everyone's just kind of staring at me. Talked to one of the barbers and they explained that I was the person who called in and they could fit me in. He pointed me to this really, really old guy to get the hair taken care of and get the beard trimmed up. He didn't speak English, or at least he wasn't speaking it to me. So through one of the other barbers, explained what I wanted done. I don't know if I can ever go back to my white barber after that experience. The dude did such a great job on the hair, on the beard. The whole vibe was full of energy and just people talking, and just wanted to share that it was a cool experience and encourage others to step out of their comfort zone and try a new barber. Never know what you're going to have. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Yeah, man. White dudes don't never come back. They get the best haircut they've ever had. It's a different level of conversation. Yeah, they never go back. Now, if we try to get our hair cut by white people, which I really don't recommend, they tell you they can't even do it. We don't cut that. We don't cut that grade. Is the story that they wind up with. But no, it always happens. Some reason white dude get his hair cut by the black guy one time and never again can he ever go back to what life had been before that. Now, the next step, I don't know what our man's romantic situation is, but that haircut gonna start getting you some looks from some places that you wasn't expected. Next thing you know. Yeah, dog. This is how it goes. So yeah, no, for real. I recommend every white dude. And see this thing, the needle went off the record that first time you went in there. But the next time you go in there and you still got the evidence of your previous haircut, they're going to be like, oh, okay, he comes through all the time. That first time, they were like, what are you doing here? Because clearly you haven't been here before. But, you're going to be back in there getting your John B on, and everything's going to be cool. They're going to have a name for you and everything. Oh, Blanquito. I don't know if they be saying that, but that seems like it would fit. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this here 3 times a week, sometimes 4. Ryan Brumley handling everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.